Hey world, Mark Jones here for another episode of Motivational Mark. Before we get started on this week's episode, do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Also, hit the notification button. The notification button is important so that you can get the videos as soon as they're premiered on our channel, and you can get the notifications that we've actually released a new video on our channel. We're going to be releasing a little bit more content to help you get through the week, but we want to ensure that you're getting the original content, the initial content that we release on Monday mornings. So for this week's episode, it's going to be called Step by Step. The reason why we named this episode Step by Step is because many of us want to run before we walk, and we want to walk before we crawl. But you can't get anywhere without following the proper steps, and it's super important to ensure that we are laying that foundation and laying that groundwork. So kind of talking through these principles this week, we're going to use it in the sense of preparing a meal. So when it comes down to your dreams and identifying where you want to be, there's some things that you need to do first. And those things are laying the foundation, identifying where you want to go. So step number one, or principle number one for this week's episode, is laying that foundation or doing the prep work for whatever your dreams are or whatever your career aspirations are. You want to ensure that you have everything that you need to be successful in these aspirations as you progress forward. So with that first principle, let's think about if we were cooking, or whatever you started cooking. You didn't just turn 20, 30 years old, 40 years old and decide to start cooking, did you? No, you started at a younger age. Like, you may have watched your parents or your grandparents or aunts or uncles or whoever was your guardian prepare those meals. And in turn, you kind of started out by just watching, seeing what they were doing and mimicking the things they did when they were in the kitchen. As you got a little bit older, you got a little bit more hands-on. And as you progress even further, you started following the directions, making some of those meals, and hey, voila, at some point you had a meal. So principle number two is preparing the meal itself, right? So with principle number one, we're laying that foundation, we're doing the prep work, we're putting a little bit of seasoning on it. So for principle number two, we're gonna actually prepare that meal. We're gonna put the heat to it, right? So when we're preparing that meal, one of the things that's super important is to know where you're going, know what the end result is supposed to be prior to you getting there. So if you're going to cook and you're making a medium or a medium well steak, you need to know what a medium or a medium well steak looks like. You need to know what the temperature needs to be. How long do you need to cook it on both sides? It's the same thing with preparing your motivation for work each day, or preparing yourself for stepping out onto that business endeavor. You want to make sure that in that step number one, when you're laying a foundation, you have your business plan and that you have the steps that it's going to take you to get there to actually launch that business. And that launching that business or stepping into that new role is preparing that meal, right? And the third principle that we're going to talk about today is wrapping everything up and making sure that we're bringing it full circle. So we're going to do the dishes. So after you prepare that meal and you get there and you're set and you've eaten and you feel like you've arrived, we have to make sure that we're bringing the process full circle and that we're basically cleaning the dishes, right? Because when you're done, there's still some things that we need to do. And that is self-development, identifying what our marketing strategy might be, identifying what that marketing strategy for yourself may be, and going out there and executing that strategy. As you get to that third principle for this week, which is ensuring that you are doing the dishes, it's bringing everything that you've learned along the way full circle. You've prepped your meal, you've cooked your meal, you've eaten your meal, and now you're cleaning up after yourself and tying up those loose ends. So when you're going out there, I just want you to know that you can do it, that you have the ability to be successful in whatever you want to do. But it's going to take a little bit of prep work, and it's going to take you going out there doing what needs to be done. You can do it, but if you don't take the proper steps, it's going to be a challenge. You're going to bump your head a couple times. And my mom always said, hard head makes a soft butt. And I want to tell you, I have plenty of instances where we can talk about where I decided to go the harder route instead of taking the easier route, which would have saved me a lot of time and a lot of heartache. So as you progress this week, remember, take some time to reflect back on the things that prepared you to get to where you are and the things that are going to take you further down the line. Don't forget where you come from. Don't forget that prep work. Don't forget the things that you did to prepare yourself to get there. And if you have bad habits, those bad habits can be broken, but it's going to take a little bit of effort on your part. But I know you can do it. If I can achieve it, anybody can achieve it. Mark Jones here, another episode of Motivational Mark. I'd like to thank you, but before I let you go, do me a favor. You guessed it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification button, and we'll see you next week.